Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the SoCal Sports Dudes podcast. Jason Wen here. Today I wanted to run through the NFL news and notes around the league and kind of just discuss what's been happening in the last few days. A lot of activity going on around there with the playoff games coming up, some coaching changes and rumors out there, and also some possible trade rumors that might be worth at least pointing out. So wanted to talk a little bit about that. Before we get started, I'd appreciate you guys subscribe, and provide some comments there in the comments section so we could help grow this channel and continue to bring you guys some content. So thank you again for tuning in. And with that, let's just kind of get into it. So it was announced Sean McVay is going to be returning to the Rams as head coach. There was a little bit of uncertainty there if he was going to step aside, go into TV or another job, or just get out of coaching and take a break for a little while. But looks like he's going to be coming back to the Rams, so Rams don't have to worry about filling that void. I was kind of wondering if Raheem Morris or someone's going to take that role over for interim or for plug into that head coaching spot while McVay figures it out. But yeah, I think he kind of needed to notify them or do something there. So it'll be interesting to see if him and the GM can get this thing back on track. They don't have a lot of maneuverability there with the draft picks not really there, cap space kind of limited. Okay, what can the Rams do to rebuild it or reset it? I mean, getting their key players back from injury is a big part of that. But yeah, we'll see what what they're able to do. But getting McVay back is a great way, obviously, to start. It's like they're talking that the front runner for the Denver job is Sean Payton. Of course, Sean Payton's been highly sought after by a lot of teams. Cardinals, of course, have a vacancy after letting go of Kingsbury. The Panthers don't have a head coach after moving on from Matt Rule, and looks like Wilkes did a good job, but I don't know if he's going to get the full-time gig there. So Payton's been mentioned with seems like every job that's available there. Plus, maybe if the Chargers or if the Cowboys move on from their guy, if they don't make a deep run in the playoffs here, will Payton be a candidate for those jobs? Even Miami, you hear about, it's just rumors, but I mean, maybe there's some truth to it where that owner wants to make a play at getting Tom Brady and pair him up with Sean Payton and bring him over to Miami, which would mean what? They have to move on from Mike McDaniel, who did a good job in his first year there with the Dolphins. So a lot of things that could still happen there. But if Denver is indeed the front runner, what kind of compensation is New Orleans going to be able to get from the Broncos, who have traded a couple of their first rounders now to Seattle for Russell Wilson? Is it going to be first rounders from down the road, or be money, packages of second and third round picks? I don't know what the price will be on that, but worth keeping an eye on. Speaking of Payton, his former defensive coordinator, Dennis Allen, looks like is scheduled to return to New Orleans as the head coach there. So that might be one possible landing spot for Payton that may not be lining up. So Allen set to return. I don't know how great of a head coach he is. He's obviously a very sound defensive coordinator, but his results as a head coach have been somewhat lackluster. So we'll see how that goes there. New Orleans now, of course, was kind of in the middle of the pack there in the NFC South. So we'll see what Allen can do with that. Cardinals have requested an interview with Brian Flores, former Dolphin head coach, who I believe was working in Pittsburgh this year, linebackers coach, something like that. So he did a good job with Miami. Obviously intense, no BS type guy. Cardinals got some parts there and some pieces to play with, but I don't know, Brian Flores, if you want to take that job. And then they're also set to interview Vance Joseph, who's defensive coordinator, also was Denver Bronco head coach a little while ago. Looks like the Colts are set to interview Eric Bieniemy, guy who's been scratching at the door there for a couple years and has done a sound job there with Kansas City as the offensive coordinator, and obviously well versed in the Andy Reid offense, so he can take that flavor and move it over to Indy and get some results. Of course, Indy's going to need to get a quarterback. We'll see what happens there. Texans, I've heard a couple names. There's nothing brewing there. DeMeco Ryans, but I don't know if he's accepted the interview request or whatever. There's some differing opinions there on that. But D'Amico Ryans, of course, had a great year as leading the 49ers defense. So he should be, I think, a guy that should get consideration for a couple of these jobs. The general manager, Titans, obviously they moved on from John Robinson kind of the second half of the year there. And they've interviewed Bears assistant general manager Ian Cunningham, also Cleveland's assistant general manager Glenn Cook, and then I don't know if they have interviewed or requested an interview for 49ers director of player personnel Ran Carthon. I believe Maurice Carthon's son, who good bloodlines there, former Giant fullback. Ran Carthon, though, I think he's been in a couple of different franchises. I think he was with the Rams the previous year. But anyway, guy who's been mentioned as an up-and-coming kind of front office type guy. Looks like he'd be, any of those guys probably be a good fit there for the Titans. This is someone you would expect who can work well with Vrabel and maybe help build that, rebuild that solid team. They were the 1 seed last year going into the playoffs, man. So they're, just got to retool a little bit there, and I think they can get back on track. Looks like a couple of trade rumors. Maybe the Cardinals might be ready to move on from DeAndre Hopkins. Of course, the guy they just traded for him, 2 years ago. So now he might be on the block. Be interesting to see what kind of return they can get on him or for him. Big time wide receiver. There are teams out there that need a receiver like that, like the Packers, the Giants. The Ravens. A lot of them could use a big play receiver such as DeAndre Hopkins. Getting a little. It's starting to get up there, maybe a little bit in years. You wonder if the price and the contract he has, what you would have to give up, and are there other alternatives or options at that position? Derek Carr, longtime Raider quarterback, a guy who's had done a solid job for a number of years there, and it looks like they might be ready to move on from him. Whispers are, though, that he might be on the trade block. I don't know if the Raiders can actually, if they're not able to trade him, if they have like a little window, I think, after the Super Bowl to be able to move on from him and not have to be penalized anyway for the part of his contract there. So there was a report that I saw that said Indy is saying no, they're not interested in Derek Carr. I'd be like, well, why not? Who else do you guys have in mind that would be better than that? Derek Carr with Indy throwing to like Pittman and handing off to Jonathan Taylor. It might not be a bad place to look there. I think he's younger than some of the other guys the Colts have been bringing in the past few years with, Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers. And of course, Wentz was a little younger, but he didn't quite fit and wasn't able to get, Frank Reich wasn't able to kind of get the most out of him. So interesting. We'll see, what happens to Derek Carr. Who does Indy get as their quarterback? Definitely things I like to keep an eye on there. So real quick, just want to run through the point spreads. This week, of course, is Super Wild Card Weekend. Fun week of the year with playoffs set to begin. So Seahawks at Niners, the lines, I'm seeing, of course, these numbers are going to vary depending on which sports book you're looking at. But I was looking at Vegas Insider, which is vegasinsider.com. It's a good website, has all different information for point spreads and such, and a couple of different sports books. So they might vary a little bit. It's hovering right around 9.5, 10. So Niners, of course, are favored in that one. Seattle's fortunate to be there. They got a little help from the Lions beating Green Bay, so Seattle could sneak into the playoffs there. That's going to be on Saturday. So, yeah, tomorrow, you're all set to begin. Jacksonville's at home against the Chargers. That one, I'm seeing a line of 1.5. Some books are showing 2.5. I'm going to see some that show 1. Chargers, of course, will not have Mike Williams and Bosa because they were injured in that last game. And one of the coach was insisting on playing them, but yeah, they're going to have, that might be a fired up Jacksonville team, young and first time in the playoffs. The home crowd's going to be, I don't know how much of a home field advantage you really get with Jacksonville, but I'm sure that fan base is going to be excited. Doug Peterson's a very solid coach who knows what it takes to win. Obviously, got that Super Bowl there in Philly. So be a guy that you gotta watch out for them Jaguars, man. They might, you never know what they could pull off. So that'll also be on Saturday. That'll be the later game. On Sunday, you have 3 games. Miami's at Buffalo. It was announced that Miami's Tua is not going to be able to play. I don't know what Bridgewater. I think it looks like Skylar Thompson's going to be the guy. And all the way to 3rd string. So that line has moved up actually from like 10.5 up to like 13.5, 14.5. I'm seeing in some places. Miami, and I think was it Tyreek Hill and Waddle were a little bit gimpy there in that final week. So Miami definitely going to have their hands full there with that one. I don't know. Well, Buffalo's going to have a home game there, but they, you can't take it for granted. The Dolphins hung with them a couple of weeks ago and almost pulled that game out. So, Buffalo's got to stay ready, man. They got a team no one's going to go in the playoffs and just lay down for anyone. Giants at Minnesota has pretty much stayed at 3 points. Of course, Minnesota's favored in that, being the home team. That's a team I think the Giants could go in there. You got to watch out, man. The Giants can go in there and take one there, man. Minnesota's a team that I've always said when they get to the playoffs, they don't always perform. Giants with Daboll, they've been solid this year, man, and I think they're going to be ready to go in that one. I don't know 3 points if I'm going to, a game that I would touch. I mean, I do a little bit here online and stuff, but that's should be a fun game to watch though. It could be a really good one. Baltimore at Cincinnati. That's going to be the late game on Sunday. Was at 6.5. That's gone up though with the announcement that Lamar's not going to be playing. It looks like 8.5 I'm seeing now. Some I'm seeing even up to 10 on point spread. So Cincinnati, the clear favorite in that one. Baltimore going to have their hands full there with having to deal with Cincinnati, who I think is kind of on a mission too. That's going to be, I think it could go any way in the AFC there with Cincy, Buffalo, KC. Maybe one of these other teams kind of makes some noise in the playoffs there with the Chargers, Jacksonville or something. But I don't know. I think those are the, Cincy's right there with the other two at the top of the division. Baltimore, by the way, re-upped Roquan Smith, gave him a contract to keep him placed there. He's a guy, of course, they acquired from the Bears for the in the middle of the season there, so filled that linebacker spot. Did a good job for him, and Baltimore likes having that, that rock as a foundational piece in the middle of that defense there at linebacker. So Roquan kind of fills that void there. Baltimore, Cincy, 2 division rivals, going to be going at it on Sunday, the late game. And then Monday, there's a playoff game, Dallas and Tampa Bay. That one is pretty much started at 3. I'm seeing books showing at 2.5. Another book has it at 1. Dallas is the favorite there. That's a team, though, I mean, Dallas didn't look too good in that last game of the year. Tampa Bay, a team that with Tom Brady, man, this is like crunch time and the moment that he seems to rise to the occasion. So that would not surprise me to see him come up and pull one out there. But but Dallas is loaded. I think they have their more talented team, but they're going to have it should be an interesting matchup. They're playing the Bucks in Tampa. So anyway, I just want to come at you guys with a quick video on news and notes around the league and some point spreads there. So I thought it was kind of fun with the playoff set to begin tomorrow to come at you guys with a video with some of this. We'll go through do a video here in the near future with maybe some of the draft order for some of the more non-playoff teams. That'd be kind of fun. I want to maybe come up with a list of team needs and a few guys that might be at the tops of potential candidates in these draft spots who might also be in the trade market to move around in there. So I'll do a little more research on that. Come back to you guys with a new video on that. So thank you for tuning in. We'll see you again real soon. All right, bye.